You think millionaires come from tech startups, viral brands, and crypto wins. A few do. Most don't. The majority of millionaires you've never heard of built their wealth through industries so boring you'd scroll past them on social media. And that's exactly why they were. 47 of millionaires in America built their wealth through owning a business. But when you dig into the data, most of those businesses aren't exciting. They're not revolutionary apps or influencer brands. They're laundromats, HVAC companies, car washes, vending routes. Boring, repeatable service businesses that generate predictable cash flow month after month, while everyone else chases the next shiny thing and wonders why their income never moves. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Boring makes millionaires. Exciting makes content. And if you can't stomach the idea of getting rich slowly through something unsexy, you're going to stay broke quickly through something that sounds cool. Let me show you the 5 industries that quietly create millionaires, the exact numbers, and why boring beats exciting every single time. Industry 1, laundromats. You walk past them. You barely notice they exist, and while you're scrolling through startup pitch decks, someone just collected $4,200 in profit this month from washers and dryers. Laundromats have a 90-95 success rate over 5 years. Compare that to restaurants at 20 or retail stores at 50. The reason? People always need clean clothes. Recession. Boom. Pandemic say. Doesn't matter. Laundry still happens. Here's what the numbers look like. A small laundromat in a decent area costs around $200,000 to $300,000 to acquire or build out. Sounds like a lot, but you're not paying that in cash. You put down 20-30, so $50,000 to $80,000 actual money. You finance the rest. Monthly revenue for a modest location runs $15,000 to $25,000 to $25,000. After expenses, rent, utilities, maintenance, loan payment, you're clearing $3,000 to $5,000 a month in profit. That's $36,000 to $60,000 a year. Not life-changing, but it's predictable. And predictable compounds. Now here's where it gets interesting. You don't stop at one. Once the first laundromat is running and generating $4,000 a month, you use that cash flow and the equity in the business to acquire a second one. Now you're at $8,000 a month. In year 4, you add a third. Now you're at $12,000 a month. 3 boring laundromats generating $144,000 a year in profit while you work a full-time job or do literally anything else. Because laundromats mostly run themselves. You're not there folding clothes. You're collecting quarters and checking machines twice a week. Industry 2, HVAC companies, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, boring as it gets. And also a business where the average successful owner clears $150,000 to $300,000 a year in profit. Why? Because air conditioning breaks in summer, heating breaks in winter, and when it does, people call immediately and pay whatever it costs because comfort isn't optional. Here's the model. You don't need to be an HVAC technician to own an HVAC company. You need to hire HVAC technicians and run the business. The startup cost runs $50,000 to $100,000, depending on whether you're buying an existing company or starting from scratch. Most smart operators buy existing because you're inheriting a customer list and recurring maintenance contracts. And those maintenance contracts are the secret. Residential HVAC breaks down like this. You sign customers to annual maintenance plans, $150 to $300 a year. You service their system twice a year, and in return, they call you first when something breaks. A customer base of 500 maintenance contracts generates $75,000 to $150,000 in predictable annual revenue before a single repair. Then you add the repairs, the installations, the emergency calls. A well-run HVAC company with 2 trucks and 3 technicians can generate $600,000 to $1 million in annual revenue. After payroll, materials overhead, the owner takes home $150,000 to $250,000. Boring industry. Millionaire outcome over 10 years. Industry 3. Car washes. Specifically, automatic car washes, not hand detailing. Automated systems where customers drive through and machines do the work. Success rate hovers around 90 because, like Laundromats, it's essential, recession-resistant, and requires minimal labor. A car gets dirty. A person pays 10 to 20 to clean it. Repeat forever. Here's the setup. An automatic car wash costs $500,000 to $1 million to build or acquire depending on location and equipment. You're financing most of that. Your down payment is $100,000 to $200,000. Monthly revenue for a decent location runs $30,000 to $60,000. After loan payments, utilities, maintenance, marketing, you're clearing $8,000 to $15,000 a month in profit. That's $96,000 to $180,000 a year from one location. But here's the key. Car washes scale wash. One location proves the model. Then you open or acquire a second. Then a third. The person who owns 5 car washes, clearing $10,000 a month each, is making $600,000 a year in profit. And they're not washing cars. They're managing managers, boring business, wealthy owner. Industry 4, waste management and dumpster rentals. You rent dumpsters to construction sites, home renovations, and businesses. Thrilling, right? But the numbers don't care about your excitement. A dumpster rental business generates $100,000 to $300,000 in annual profit for a single owner operation. Why? Because construction never stops, renovations never stop, trash never stops. Here's the model. You buy 10 to 20 dumpsters at $2,000 to $4,000 each. Total upfront cost is $30,000 to $80,000. You rent them out for $300 to $600 per drop-off depending on size and duration. Your cost is the truck, the fuel, and the dump fees. A single dumpster can be rented 10 to 15 times a year. 10 dumpsters at 12 rentals, each at $400 per rental, is $48,000 in annual revenue per dumpster. 10 dumpsters generate $480,000 in revenue. After operating costs, you're clearing $150,000 to $250,000 in profit annually. Boring industry. Nobody at parties asks what you do, but you're wealthier than the people asking. Industry 5. Self-storage facilities. The most passive, boring business on the list. People accumulate stuff. They need a place to put it. You provide that place. They pay you monthly. You do almost nothing. Self-storage has a 92% occupancy rate nationally, meaning once you build it or buy it, it stays full. And the profit margins are absurd because your only real costs are property taxes, insurance, and occasional maintenance. Here's what it looks like. A small self-storage facility with 50 to 100 units costs $500,000 to $1.5 million to acquire or develop. You finance most of it. A 100-unit facility with units renting for $80 to $150 per month generates $8,000 to $15,000 in monthly revenue. After mortgage, taxes, insurance, you're clearing $4,000 to $8,000 a month in profit. That's $48,000 to $96,000 a year from a business you visit once a week. And in 15 years, when the mortgage is paid off, that same facility generates $120,000 to $180,000 a year in nearly pure profit. Boring business. Retirement income. Now here's why boring beats exciting every single time. Boring industries have 3 things exciting industries don't. Predictable demand, low competition, and proven systems. Let's break that down. Predictable demand. People always need laundry, heating, car washes, trash removal, and storages. They don't always need the new app, the trendy clothing brand, or the viral product. When demand is predictable, revenue is predictable. When revenue is predictable, you can plan, you can scale, you can borrow against it. Exciting industries live and die by trends. Boring industries survive trends. Low competition. Everyone wants to start a sexy business, so the competition is brutal. How many people are trying to launch an app right now? Thousands. How many people are trying to buy a laundromat? Barely anyone. Low competition means better deals, higher margins, and less risk. The reason boring industries make millionaires is because most people won't touch them. They're too focused on looking cool to get rich. Proven systems. Boring industries have been around for decades. The playbook exists. You're not guessing. You're following a model that thousands of people have already proven, and there's data on margins, failure rates, and best practices. When you start a sexy new industry, you're gambling. When you enter a boring industry, you're executing. Execution beats innovation when the goal is wealth, not fame. Here's the part that changes everything. You don't need one boring business. You need 3 to 5 over 10 years. Start with one. Prove it works. Use the cash flow and equity to fund the next. Then the next. That's how you go from $60,000 a year in profit to $300,000 to $600,000. Not by finding the next big thing. By stacking boring things that work. And here's the question nobody asks. What if you don't want to run these businesses? You don't have to. Once they're operational and profitable, you hire a manager. You become the owner, not the operator. The laundromat runs itself. The HVAC company is managed by someone else. The car wash has a supervisor. You collect profit, review numbers, and move on to the next one. That's how boring becomes wealthy. It's not about working in boring industries. It's about owning boring industries that generate cash while you do anything else. Most people will never do this, not because they can't, because it's not sexy. They'd rather tell people they're working on a startup or building a brand than admit they own a dumpster rental company. And that's fine. More opportunity for the rest of us. The people who get rich through boring industries don't care what sounds cool. They care what works. And boring works. It's worked for 50 years. It'll work for the next 50 years. The only question is whether you're willing to stomach the fact that nobody's going to congratulate you for owning a laundromat. But your accountant will when you cross 7 figures in net worth. So here's my question for you. Which of these 5 boring industries could you actually see yourself owning in the next 3 years? Drop a comment. And if you think boring is beneath you, stay broke and exciting. I'll take boring and wealthy. Subscribe for more financial content that shows you what actually builds wealth, not what sounds cool on social media.